Hello to all who are tuning in to another short story episode of Ink to Paper Stories and Interviews. I am your host, h.a.Spector. But before we jump in, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in, as always, and thank you for giving this short story a listen. The goal of these types of episodes is to give various authors, writers, storytellers a platform to share their work in audio format. And if you enjoyed today's story, I encourage you to go check out the author's social media or whatever they plug for you to check out and follow them and reach out and let them know that you enjoyed the story. I also want to take a moment to mention that every story read on this podcast is written by the author who holds the copyright for the material. Any reproduction of the art is not allowed without the sole written permission of the artist. So, all that legal jargon out of the way, let's get on with today's short story and welcome to the show today's author and guest, Briar Hyssop.
Hey y'all. Hi.
I'm so excited to have you on today. I am so excited to hear this story read because I got to read through it and it's just a fun, absurd read. And I love a good weird fiction story.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited to read it for y'all. I've been itching to get this out there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone's going to enjoy it. So I'm not even going to waste any more time. Let's just dive straight in and I will turn it over to you, Bryar.
Thank you. This is The Ballad of M'Yon'Esu by Briar Hyssop. There was a milky quality to the sky when M'Yon'Esu's mother laid his egg. Clouds shrouded the two from the heavens as if their ancestors didn't want to bear witness to the misfortune of his birth. His egg, already weeping blood from its pearly shell, made his clan rejoice. "It's a godsend! Our savior will be born!" They celebrated. But as the clan oracles offered thanks to the gods, they were met with a terrible prediction. Esu had only a half-moon's chance of survival. Descended from the great dragon Egirth, Esu was sure to succeed where so many other young shifters failed to conquer the dragon spirit within his human vessel. It was the war waiting for him in adulthood, and the wit of the enemy, that was the true threat to his life. His birthright was to die for his clan. Lord Bryar devoured neighboring lands like the dishes served at his conquest banquets. With every village metabolized by his kingdom, Esu's hope of seeing the rights of manhood diminished. By age 5, only a quarter moon's light shone on his chances of survival, as the delectable women and children of h.a.Su were served to Lord Bryar on a silver platter. Down to a crescent moon's chance at 12, spread thin across Lord Bryar's table with the plundered crops of Equali. By the time Esu saw his 17th birthday, he had merely a sliver's chance. And even that would be stuffed into a fattened hog at the center of Lord Bryar's feast if his village were invaded. There was a milky quality to the sky when the oracles informed Esu that the moon shone no light on his future. "Despite your immense capability, I cannot see a way forward for you," the elder told him on a depleting breath. "Surely there is a way," Esu said. But no matter how many scrolls he pored over, how many bones the scryers read, they found no way around the Lord's considerable fortifications. No amount of scheming could break through the waves of soldiers poised to attack, nor could they avoid them. The Lord was unstoppable, with magic coating his skin like liquid metal to repel any attack Esu might make. Huddled around the bones of his ancestors, Esu and the elders poured their hopes into the pregnant stares shared between the scryers. But that hope, too, deflated over the enduring prediction. Esu would die. There was but one course of action left. Esu watched a stream of clouds fatten in the sky as he gathered his thoughts. Blades of grass pricked his skin as if to say, "For once in your life, cherish feeling." He closed his eyes against the world he'd taken for granted, the world he promised to experience once the war ended. When he opened them, Esu memorized the depth of the blue speckles peeking through the clouds, and he picked through the fibers of each white puff with his eyes, and he burrowed his head into the grass so that the spikes might scratch the sun-hardened skin of his neck, and he gulped the moist air, flavored with wildflowers, and when he released that breath, he released his attachment to the world with it. With the process of releasing himself back into the ether begun, Ezu returned to the war tent and met the eyes of his advisors with an empty, obsidian stare. He gave them no final words, only stepped into the center of the intricate rings and slashes that formed the spell circle. Despite their misgivings, the Time Weavers followed and took their places at the primal glyphs to activate the spell. Gathered from neighboring clans over a matter of days, they rehearsed each detail of the spell while M'Yon'Esu disrobed himself. He squared his shoulders and closed his eyes, naked as the day he broke free from the egg that doomed him. The magic latched onto his skin, sucking the years of training from his body like a ravenous hatchling. Scant memories flashed behind his eyes, clouds shadowing the training field at 17. The blue expanse of sky he briefly saw at 12 after a lost sparring session knocked him onto his back. The stalks of grass he clung to at 5 as he learned to balance his weapons. Had the magic been stronger, had it been better rehearsed or performed by more skilled time weavers, his body's regression would have been a shrinking, like the tightening skin around a wide smile. Instead, Ezu felt every bone-crunching thrust of magic. His gasps of pain syncopated with the chanting, diminishing from the grunt of a seasoned warrior to the whimpers of a terrified child. Eventually, even those meager cries faded to nothing as the dust of his eviscerated bones resealed around his embryonic body. When the screaming and the chanting stopped, Ezu's ancestral magic radiated from the perfect shell surrounding his unborn form. Those assembled offered their gratitude to the still air surrounding the still egg. Then they set their plan into action. Ezu's chief advisor took the encapsulated boy from the ground and carried him to the apothecary. The potion master gingerly accepted his offering. She placed a kiss on the shell and whispered her thanks to the boy. Then she smashed it against the tabletop. She collected the liquid pool of his body in a wooden bowl already stuffed full of eye of newt, owlet's wings, the drippings of a slaughtered cow, and citron tears. With nimble, practiced slices, the potion master emulsified Ezu's liquefied corpse into a worthy offering for Lord Briar's. There was a milky quality to the newly conquered clan's offering. Thick, almost like a paste from which a pleasant fragrance wafted into Lord Briar's nose. "This is food?" he asked, the feigned disbelief betrayed by obvious curiosity. "Yes, my lord," his attendant said. "It is what the clans call mayonnaise." Lord Briarchis sniffed the concoction once more, then snapped his fingers at another attendant. A young girl, cloaked in the lord's colors, the alien fabrics clashing with her complexion, emerged from behind the tent's silk curtains. She carried an ornate board, blackly salvaged from one of his many raids to the head of the banquet, heaped with bread, cheese, and preserved meat. Patience had never been a virtue of Lord Briarch's, tossed into the waste bin with diplomacy and basic manners. He reached across the remaining space and jerked her to his side. "Why must I wait to be served at my own banquet?" he asked. The girl seemed to struggle against a sneer, but still, she slathered the creamy concoction onto a slice of bread and stacked folds of the marbled meat and oily cheese on top. Her impudence, which would have otherwise been punished, was immediately forgotten under the allure of this mysterious thing called mayonnaise. She slapped the creation onto the lord's silver plate and raced to serve the next general. Lord Briarch's fingers danced at the edge of the table as he waited. The villages he conquered always offered the quaintest gifts: leather, precious metals, women. But never had he received a reward so enticing. Always weak to a good meal, the lord raised his meal to the air as soon as the last general was served. "To a job well done! May we continue beyond the border of Pishpi to the sea," he said. "To the sea!" his generals cried. Lord Briarch's brought the stack of ingredients to his lips, savoring the way it flavored the air before he even took his first bite. A hint of sourness raced over his tongue toward the back of his throat. The perfect complement to the sweet bread and savory meats and cheese. He groaned against the bread still held to his mouth, knocking loose pieces of the stack to his lap. They painted his royal robes white with the dripping mayonnaise. An attendant rushed forth from his post on the wall. "My lord," he said, eyes wide as he approached. "You've spilled something on yourself. It's... He could barely finish his thought for the scream that erupted from Lord Briarch's. Polluted smoke billowed from his mouth between gurgled chunks of stomach lining and sludge. His eyes bulged to match those of his frantic attendant, but they soon grew too large. They expanded until they had no choice but to burst in his skull. In those last hazy moments of his life, he watched every tyrant seated around the table spew their similarly vile innards. Lord Briarchis had always imagined the last moments of his life would be spent reminiscing the opulence of his rule, the villages he conquered, the people he subdued. But for all his planning and pillaging and murdering, the Lord thought only of one thing: mayonnaise. The end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bryar, for that story. Like I said at the top, I loved that story when I read it because it fits right into that, like, that weird, absurdist, like, niche of fiction that I've been getting into recently. And so I thought this was just the perfect timing for this story to come across. I do have a couple questions, though, to kind of follow up that story that I'm just really curious about. So first, let's start with what inspired this story?
Yeah, I think it's a funny story. I'm in a writing group, bunch of friends, we met when we were all studying together. And every Saturday, we either have a professor-led writing group or we have what we call like the off weekends, where one of us comes up with a bunch of prompts and then we all meet up on a Saturday. We write, just having a lot of fun with it. And a friend of ours, not me, was in charge of the prompts that weekend. And God, she just threw something so... It was something like, the prompt was something along the lines of like, you're a dragon shifter and you have to go to a party or a banquet with your dad's enemies. It was something really crazy. But the whole point that they wanted with the prompt was essentially like the romanticy. Oh, I'm a dragon shifter and I'm having my debut into society and I'm going to wear a pretty, it was something about a ball gown and stuff too. And I just remember looking at it like because we get them like the day or two before. And I remember looking at it and being like, ain't no way in hell I'm writing that. So I decided to try real hard to break it, I didn't think I would get anything good out of it. So I was like, I'm just going to go completely on the opposite end of it then. And then instead of trying to do something real serious like I'd been doing at the time, I was like, I'm just going to write a shit post and see what comes out of it. And I mean, this came out of it. And I thought it was wonderful. When I finished, I was actually real proud of it.
Honestly, you should be proud of it because it's just like I don't know. It's like, it's the origin story of mayonnaise that they should pick up and use to market mayonnaise, honestly.
Listen, I'd be so thrilled if they turn it into a commercial series or something. Give me an Amazon Plus.
Hellmans, if you're listening, just give us a ring and we can have your people contact Bryar's people.
Actually, Hellmans, I love you, but I'm actually a Kewpie lover over here, like Kewpie mayonnaise from Japan with a little baby on it. Yeah.
Well, okay, Kewpie mayonnaise, if you're listening, feel free to contact the show. And
I know they're a Japanese brand, but I do speak Japanese, so I'd be happy to do the business with them.
Perfect match.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know, as I've said a few times now, like, I know this story kind of fits well into that weird and absurd fiction genre, and I'm slowly becoming a fan of that genre. So, but what, for you, Bryar, what draws you into the genre?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of what I would call the weird aesthetic.
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking of like visual things that I've always liked to surround myself with, it is generally going to be closer to that. If we're looking at like psychedelic inspired landscapes or paintings, I really love surrealism as an art movement. And to me, weird fiction is, if you were to translate, surrealism into writing, right?
Yeah.
It's just always really appealed to me. Even if we're looking at movies, one of my favorite films of all time, and this is not a lie, is Rubber. Do you know the movie? It's about a sentient. It's so good. It is about a sentient murderous tire.
Oh.
And the whole film is really kind of avant-garde. It's got like people that are watching the tire go through this town and kill people, but the tire falls in love with someone too. It's fantastic. It's very strange.
That's incredible.
Oh, it's so good. But, that's where I draw a lot of my influences. I mean, really, my venture into weird has been more aesthetic than it has been literary.
Yeah.
So after realizing that, weird is something people write and don't just show, I've been diving a lot more into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, that's really cool. And I need to check out that movie because listen, I have a love-hate relationship with movies.
Yeah.
Simply because I love the idea of movies. And then when I go to actually watch a movie, I end up playing video games instead. I don't know what happens. I pick up my PlayStation remote and just magically a video game comes on instead of a movie.
It's tough.
It's weird. It's really weird. Full circle.
There we go.
But I'll put it on my list.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day I'll when I watch movies again, I'll watch it for sure. But yeah, I love that. Like pulling inspiration from just like the weird and the absurd is something that I want to do more of. And so I like this story was really cool because it got the wheels turning in my own head of like, what can I like make weird and absurd out of like everyday objects or everyday things?
Well, I'll tell you, there really is inspiration everywhere. I've got at this point 3 weird stories that have been put out and published.
Okay.
And really, I feel like all the inspiration for them is separately, they never really come from the same place. Like I had one that's been published in an anthology that is essentially about a little boy who grows up on a farm where once a crop that they've been growing starts dying out, one of the patriarchs has to eat the seed and become the plant that then nourishes the family forever. And that one's kind of a hard hitter for real. I think he's a tearjerker. But I've got that, and then on the opposite end, I have mayonnaise here, and then I have one where I was chit-chatting with Beverly one day, and I was having a fruit fly problem, and it got in my coffee without me seeing, and it was the worst experience of my entire life. But that inspired a different weird story that ended up being about a bug hunter looking for like this bug that he ain't found yet. And ended up traveling to the Philippines, getting probably dengue fever, but like hardcore fever dreaming this really sexy version of the. Okay, but hear me out. He fever dreamed a really hot version of that mantis, the orchid mantis that he wanted. Definitely hooked up with it, and then gets sent home. Do you want to know what's crazy about that?
What?
It is Best of the Net and Pushcart nominated. It personally kills me a little bit for that one to be the one that's getting her like recognition like that. But you know what? I'm proud of it too.
Listen, it's always going to be the ones out of left field that shine, right?
Somehow it speaks to people.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast. I don't think it's on anymore, but there used to be a podcast where the host interviewed inanimate objects.
No.
Like it was like a can of Coke. And it was just like interviewing a can of Coke. And then he was like interviewing like a vacuum cleaner and like, yeah.
Did someone like voice over the responses?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like fully yeah, someone played the part of the inanimate object.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
It was I think it's called Everything is Alive. So even if it's not on anymore and you want to check out some things, Everything is Alive.
I'll look it up.
Called. But
that's right up my alley.
But jumping back over, one more question here for you is, so how did you come up with the characters in this story? And if you could talk a little bit about like kind of what that process looks like for you and then just like your writing process overall in general.
Yeah, well, Ezu really was born out of the gag of the joke. And part of, like I had said earlier, I was trying to break the prompt and I was just like, okay, what if we age regressed a dragon back to his egg? And then what if we use that egg to make mayonnaise? And then, Ezu was right there. And then I was like, well, I want to hide his name as best as I can without it being like too obvious, but not too removed.
Yeah.
So then I was trying to find a way. And then, like I said, I speak Japanese. So I just started saying mayonnaise in Japanese and then just wrote it phonetically and then fantasied it up a little bit.
That's incredible. I'm just now putting this together. I didn't realize that the name of the story, the character's name, that's incredible.
Yeah. So in Japanese, it's mayonnaise. So, you just take away a little bit and, Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, really, he was just born out of that. And then I just decided to be kind of critical of fantasy a little bit. It's not my usual genre, and I'm more of a horror and sci-fi writer otherwise.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, like, in fantasy we always see these people, they've got so much responsibility on them, and they're just like, oh, I'm wearing this responsibility and I'm gonna win this fight.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, what if this responsibility kills him? Yeah. And then we just ran from there, and I just had a lot of fun with it.
That's really cool. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it for sure. And I thank you so much for taking the time to be on and to share the story with us. And I hope that everyone out there listens to the story while enjoying a mayonnaise sandwich.
Please.
Because I think that would just be chef's kiss on top of everything else.
Yeah. Put it in a tuna salad, make a chicken salad, any of that stuff, y'all. Just prep it up and then listen to this again while you're eating the mayonnaise for like a sensory experience. It's like 40.
Yeah. And you'll fully know the sacrifice that was put in that provided you with mayonnaise today.
Yeah. Yep. And if you're allergic, you'll feel like the Lord. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today and be here, Bryar. Where can people connect with you, Bryar, if they want to find you online or read more of your stories?
Yeah, well, I try to stay offline as much as I can. I like my fields. I like living on my farm. But right now, you can find me on Instagram at Briar Hyssop Writes. So pop on over there, check in. I post about books that I'm writing and that I'm reading. So if you want to know what my taste is like, come on over.
Okay. Well, perfect. Yeah. We will have that listed in the show notes for anyone who wants to go check out Bryar. Thank you again so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. And I wish you continued publication success for all of your weird fiction.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Ink to Paper Stories and Interviews. If you enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to leave us a rating and a review on whatever podcast platform you use to access the episode. It's the best way to help the show grow and reach a wider audience. If you are a writer, author, or storyteller across any medium and you want to appear on a future episode of the show, please send me an email at h.a.spectorwrites@gmail.com or send me a message on Bluesky at h.a.spectorwrites.bsky.social. As always, keep promoting your local libraries, support your local community bookstores by buying books, including banned ones, and keep on supporting the storytellers you know and love. All of these things help support a healthy and thriving literary landscape, whether you are a writer or a reader. And I will catch you all in the next chapter.